Hey guys, welcome to another video for anatomy and physiology. In this video, we will be discussing the sternocleidomastoid. It's a long one, it's a mouthful, but I think if you paid attention in medical terminology, then understanding where the Latin terms, what they're pointing at, what they're saying, what they mean, then you should for the most part be able to guess where these muscles are located and what they move. So, to get a good view of this, let me remove one side here, and let's take a look at the sternocleidomastoid. So let's first start off with the point of origin. And actually, before I show you these points, let me just remind you how we decide which is the point of origin and which is the insertion point, because I know sometimes that can be confusing. I remember when I was when I first started out in A&P, I was like, insertion, origin. But the easy way to remember this is just think that the point that is that's moving the most, okay, that one is typically the insertion point. So the point that's the most static, or the one that's not moving, that has the least amount of movement, that one is usually the point of origin. And I know there's a few that kind of go back and forth, or there's some debate about them, but for the most part, and most professors won't even have you memorize or remember what the point of insertion and origin are, but it is a really good idea to know these, especially because it does help when remembering the skeletal muscle system. And I know most people who are taking A&P are, could care less, probably. You're probably trying to get past this class. You can go to med school or nursing school or what have you. But if you're like me and you think you're going to possibly want to teach this one day, and actually, to be honest, I didn't intend to teach this stuff initially. But in any case, you never know. I love this stuff anyway. I've always enjoyed it, and I've always found it fascinating. So, understanding the points of origin and seeing how they coincide with the different features of the bone structure, it fascinated me because, the human body, along with, from a scientific perspective, if you think of it as a machine, I mean, it's just all the pulls and levers. It's a really fascinating machine when you stop to think about it, and how it's just geniusly organized and designed to do all the great things that we get to do, from rock climbing, volleyball, basketball, football, you name it. And so in any case, so where was I? So the point of origin is the most static, and the insertion point is the one that's where the most movement is occurring. So for the sternocleidomastoid, the point of origin. So if you look at the upper part of the anterior surface of the manubrium, okay, so it's on the upper, the most superior part, and it's kind of the anterior surface. You can take a look at it right there. Now, what's really cool about this program is it has, it highlights, for the point of origin in red here, it highlights where that muscle attaches to the manubrium. Okay. Now, it also attaches, so there's 2 points of attachment. It also attaches to the superior border of the first, of the most medial aspect of the clavicle, about a third of the clavicle. Okay. So medial meaning towards the middle, right? The midline. So the middle third of the clavicle and the anterior surface of the manubrium are where the sternocleidomastoid's point of origin are located. And so then it runs up the neck, right? So pay attention to those muscle fibers. And then it leads us to the points of insertion. All right. So these points of insertion, that means that this is the part of the muscle that, when the muscle contracts, is going to be causing the most movement. Now you can see they're highlighted in blue. You have the lateral surface of the mastoid process, right? And then you also have the nuchal line of the occipital bone. Okay, so if you remember the nucleal, I was having a hard time saying the nucleal ligament in the back of the spine that's connected to the vertebrae. But this is the nucleal line of the occipital bone. So these are the points of insertion. And then we have, let's take a look at the nerve that actually communicates to these muscles, and this is the accessory nerve. Remember this one, accessory? This is cranial nerve number 11. Okay, and then the blood supply comes from the carotid arteries in the neck. All right. So now, looking at this different scene here, we're looking at what movement is actually caused by this muscle. So notice the direction of the muscle fibers. We're always talking about looking at these muscle fibers, the directions that they run. That'll help us understand what the movement is going to be. Okay, so it's an indicator of which direction the the bones will be pulled when the muscle contracts or it shortens. Okay, and so when this muscle contracts or shortens, the angle between the head and the upper thorax, the shoulder line, the clavicle area, the manubrium, right, the superior surface of the manubrium, that angle will close, right? And so whenever the angle between 2 points is closing in anatomy speak, that's a flexor. So this is a flexor muscle. So it's flexing, it's closing the angle. It also helps to elevate the thorax. Okay, and so it moves the head towards the shoulder. So it's a flexor muscle. Okay, guys. So this one's going to be kind of short because we're just dealing with one muscle, the sternocleidomastoid. So I hope you learned something new. Please stay safe out there. Wear your mask, get that vitamin D, exercise, that sun, and watch your stress levels out there, guys. All right, we'll catch you on the next one.